Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffrey Combs.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jeffrey Combs. Truly privileged to be here this afternoon. Ooh, a lot of gratitude today. My wife has been through a lot of challenges with her explant surgery. She looks like she's turning the corner today. I'm turning the corner today on my health. How about yourself? It's good to be here. Do you feel healthy? How many of you experienced health challenges in the last few years? And it just absolutely sucks the life out of you, is being able to address the immune system, the adrenal system, going through the whole situation that we've been through in the last 3 years, the trauma-based mind control, all the situations that you have encountered as a business owner in the last 3-4 years as we finish the year 2023, a very challenging year for myself and a lot of the world, just the navigating what it requires to be and stay in business. Mainstream media, changes in the world, gas prices, mortgage prices, a lot to contend with and a lot to navigate. Sandra, always honored to have you on Facebook Live here. Michelle, great coaching last night. Topic for today's Facebook Live is effectively reading people. This is very valuable content, especially if you have a job and you encounter narcissistic personalities, or you're in the dating world, or you're building a business, or you go out to dinner and there's rude customers around you, or you're hiring people yourself for your businesses, or you're onboarding new clients. It's important that you understand what a narcissistic personality is. It's important you understand people who are toxic. And then there's also all the good people that you can connect with, collaborate with, create business with, ambassadorship with, create camaraderie with, build a team, build a culture. And then there's employees that you can also attract. I just said to my employee, Henry dresses impeccably on the job. And I just told him right before this Facebook Live how much I appreciate his professionalism that he brings to my business. And he dresses well, he's groomed well, he doesn't show up half-assed, he shows up in the game. And I really appreciate that. Kim Lovelace, you'll understand this being a Midwestern girl. Just he brings that juice to it. Kevin Clinton Paulson, good to see you. Sandra, Michelle, you were the first four on today's Facebook Live. And I go through my Facebook Live every single day on memories. So many of you, I will see pictures of events on memory. Kim Lovelace, I saw pictures of us in St. Louis over a 2-year period when we were doing events in the Marriott Hotel up on the top floor of it. I mean, that was really back in the day. And then going to dinner at Charlie Gito's, and Dean Bone was part of that, and just some other really, really cool people. So, and it's just so awesome to see you. Kevin Clinton Paulson, great to have spent quality time with you at Breakthroughs to Success back in the day, and then in Fort Lauderdale, Florida on a couple of occasions, and you have followed me for many, many years. As I'm speaking right now, an exceptional couple, Amber Scavone and Rick Stout, who are now officially married. They've been clients of mine since 2005. They just sent me one of their wedding pictures from the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico tonight. John King, good to see you this afternoon. It's an honor to be here with all of you today. So here, the topic for today's Facebook Live is reading people. Now, there's an old book. I have multiple books on this topic on how to effectively read body language. Now, if you know anything about Freemasonry and other secret societies, there's a lot of body language, there's a lot of signs that they give off, and there's a lot of these, and there's a lot of these, and so you can learn to tell a lot about some of those signs and some of those clues, and there's this, and then there's you'll see this, or you'll see some of these like this, and you'll see this. And this is even more pronounced than you've ever seen before once you understand down that rabbit hole of signs and sign language and understand the messages people are giving us, mixed messages to confuse us, controlled opposition, and other situations that you see going on. And the more you understand these signs and symbolism and then see it in people's body language and see it in their dress, demeanor, and the way they carry themselves, it gives you that slight edge. It gives you that real advantage to really understand where people are coming from. But if you're intoxicated emotionally, if you live in this doesn't make sense, I don't understand people. And it's very important that in high consciousness, you do understand people, because people is your business. I mean, it's your livelihood. It's for you to understand. In free enterprise, you require customers, clients, people you can collaborate with. You require people you can do and be in business with. You require enhancing your service and value, and you enhance that by being better at understanding people, cause and effect, why they do what they do, and then your ability to read the situation for what it is so you can adapt and adjust. And then you don't feel gaslighted, ghosted, rejected, or abandoned when you are very skilled at reading people. When you ask someone a commitment question and then they go, well, yeah, and they tell you a story unrelated to the question that you asked them, that's for you to understand this is not a qualified buyer. They're not giving you a buy signal. They're exiting the conversation, telling you what they think you want to hear to avoid whatever perceived pain they're avoiding. And the more you understand that, that is not a prospect, that is a suspect. And when you're a closer, when you have closing skills, you understand this. You understand why people come up with objections. You're able to hear what is meant, not said. You're able to differentiate between the people who are prosperous versus the people who have broke thoughts, money issues, poverty consciousness, lack, and the people who can't commit and or decide. And as you have a better understanding of reading these people, then you're in a non-attached state, meaning that you're not attached to them. You don't have a story about them, and you're able to easily and effortlessly separate yourself from the events that shape them. David Hawkins writes just absolutely great content in multiple books of his, but specifically the book Power versus Force. And in that book written in 2000, or that book was written in 1996. I started reading it in 2006 and I've read it into the hundreds of times, especially chapter 8, The Source of Power. So the more that you understand the difference between people who are in force and the people who are in power, and there's also the book, The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, which has a chapter on keep your friends close, enemies closer, understanding who the enemy is, understanding their consistent behaviors, understanding their character defects, understanding their cockiness and their arrogance. And that's where we are in today's world. You want to understand who your enemy really is. In giving out love and joy in the planet, that's a main component. Surrendering to God and to Christ within, that's a major asset. But it's also important that you understand how you or me or any of us, how you feel you are being trauma-based mind controlled. Are you understanding what the media is doing? Are you understanding how fixed prices are? Or you start to understand that sports is now entertainment. It's no longer as a governing body that keeps games from being fixed. It's called entertainment, just like wrestling. And the more you understand that at a higher level, the more you understand what is going on with symbolism and signs and programming and how you're being groomed and seduced. And the more you understand how to read the food industry is filled with toxic non-food. Even the term organic, is it really organic? I mean, what does it really mean? What is true organic? The water you consume, the thoughts you think, the feelings that you feel. I mean, the more you understand this content, and then you take content. So content is the information. Context is the application. And when you're able to receive the content, take it to context and apply it in areas that will empower yourself and empower others, then you're separating yourself from anxiety, fear, and doubt. To really transcend consciousness, to lift yourself out of anxiety, fear, and doubt, and then out of the addictions that you continue to perpetuate over and over and over. For those of you who are highly aware, do you understand the epidemic of vaping and how vaping has become such a prevalent addiction and how people are just absolutely seduced into vaping, how easy it is to hide vaping. And it's not uncommon for me to find out clients who actually become honest with me will tell me that they're vaping 10, 15 times an hour because of the ease of it and the instant gratification and the tolerance that gets created, and how it has to have more and more and more and more of that. And once again, what this does, what vaping or any addiction does, it takes you out of here. That's your pineal gland. And then back here, this is your hippocampus. So that is short-term memory. And then back in here, back behind here, is the amygdala. That's the reticular activating system, the emotional engine that searches for feelings. And when you're addicted to a set of feelings, and you have brain, and then you have your hippocampus as short-term memory, and this is your prefrontal cortex, and that's your ability to decide and discern. And when you have challenges with commitment, you're going to be in brain fog. And that brain fog doesn't mean you're crazy. So that pinball machine that's going off in your head, that's based on trauma-based mind control and then trauma that is not resolved. So when you're being absolutely mind controlled by the agenda and whatever else is out there, and if you find yourself sucked in and seduced to these situations, into movies, into sports, into entertainment, into these situations, and you're constantly being programmed, a set of content that disempowers you, that leads you closer to Satan, that takes you away from your God. I know I'm going down the rabbit hole here, but when you get in this space where you can't decide and discern, and because you're so overwhelmed, you can't read the situation for what it is. So you'll buy any old thing to give you instant gratification, and that's what people tend to go for. And I no longer watch professional sports. That's correct, Clinton, because armor up daily. I understand what you're saying. Breathe, release, and let go. No longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. That's why breathing, releasing, and letting go is an important skill to master. As you master your emotional state, as you learn to let go, that separation between the feelings and the events that shape them, you virtually are elevating your consciousness, which allows you not only to read people, but to read the situation for what it is. So you're in a place called know. That's spelled K-N-O-W. That means I know. And when you know, you're not in doubt. You cannot read the situation for what it is when you're in doubt. You cannot tell what's really happening when you're in anxiety and fear. You can't properly create sound decisions when you're in anxiety. Anxiety is driven by a series of emotions that are unresolved. And when you become addicted to a set of feelings, anger, hate, resentment, frustration, disappointment, when you're addicted to these feelings of rejection and abandonment, overwhelmed feelings, and then you're addicted to guilt and shame, pride and apathy and grief. So it's anger, hate, resentment, guilt, shame, abandonment, rejection, overwhelmed feelings, grief, apathy, and pride. If you're addicted to any of these emotions or a multitude of them, you will spend a large percent of your time in your analytical egoic mind processing, thinking, rationalizing, avoiding, getting ready to get ready, which does not allow you to really understand people, the world, and what's going on in it, which keeps you highly susceptible to programming and keeps you standing in line for bad food, pharmaceutical medication, and other situations that rob your pineal gland of being in higher consciousness. Anytime you're in any of these overwhelmed situations, or you're medicating yourself with food and other situations, you're actually robbing your energy of consciousness, bringing yourself down below courage, and you're going to transmute your emotional state anywhere from 25 hertz or cycles per second up to about 150 cycles per second, which keeps you in anxiety, fear, and doubt. As you access the quality courage, you actually elevate yourself above anxiety, fear, and doubt. You step into consciousness, which is a place called know, which allows you to have a much better understanding of people's behaviors, people's predictabilities. And when you're communicating with people and you're presenting a value proposition and you ask for a commitment and they give you a reason why they can't buy, it's your responsibility like this to understand what is meant along with what is said. So you can read people. If you're dating, it's going to be your responsibility to understand the charming narcissist. And if you've been addicted to these narcissists before and you end up in these toxic, traumatic relationships, well, it's now your responsibility to understand there's a reason this happens to you. It's not just by luck. It's because you tend to do this right here. This is on this right here. Giving people second, third, fourth, and fifth chances. Because you're a good person, so you expect them to be a good person, and your boundaries are very unclear, and then you let people take advantage of you. How many of you ever loaned people money? How many of you ever dated someone and loaned them money and they never paid you back? Or you got seduced by someone and you trusted them. Well, you should trust people, but you trust yourself. And it's important that you trust yourself to hear what is meant. And when someone is lying to you, you have to say, they're lying to me, because they are pathological liars. Instead of going, oh, well, I'm a good person, I'm going to give them a second, third, and fourth chance. How many of you have dated someone and then gotten back together with them on whatever bizarre situation, and then you go, oh my God, how did I do this to myself? Well, you do this because the pleasure is worth the pain at that point. When the pleasure is no longer worth the pain, you are moving into higher states of recovery. You are letting go of the events that shape the feelings, because you're no longer the mind-body connection to the events. So you're addressing codependent behavior of enabling, over-obligating, doing more for others than you do for yourself. You can still be an exceptional human being and be out there and do random acts of kindness and do charitable acts of kindness, but you can't do it at the cost of your own sobriety or your own financial resources that you don't even have. I've actually seen people loan people money that they don't have on their credit cards or from someone else because they want to be a good person, a nice guy, and they want to help someone out. And unfortunately, these type of people that you get in these type of relationships, usually it's a trauma bond, a panic pattern, and a narcissistic relationship that you end up on the short end of that project. And that's why it's so good that you learn to let go of attracting these people. Narcissistic personalities right there. And they become much more skilled at attracting people that you can be in collaboration with, people that you can converse with, people that you're in true alignment with, people who have a value system that you have, but that means you also must value your time. For you to attract people who respect you, it's important you respect yourself. And that respect, if you respect yourself, you'll have healthy boundaries, clear boundaries. You won't get seduced by people as easily as you used to. You'll be able to tell when someone is telling you what you think you want to hear. You'll be able to tell when someone is over-obligating themselves. You'll be able to hear that people aren't really committed. Yeah, why don't you get back with me? And someone said to me just 2 days ago, I really want to hire you, but I'll just have to think about it. And I said, when will you have time to make a decision? Well, I just really don't know. So what that means is that is not a qualified buyer, and I will not be following up with that person because they can get back with me anytime that it's good for them. And that's the power of non-attachment. That's being able to read a situation for what it is, not being attached, creating a story out of it, being rejected, being gaslighted, being ghosted, but letting the person go very diplomatically and moving on and reading the situation for what it is. How many of you have a narcissistic parent in your circle of influence? Or a narcissistic brother or sister who attempts to control you? Narcissists hate themselves and they cast their hate on you. And the narcissistic personality is very charming. So while they may be traumatizing you, they're out there charming the rest of the planet. And someone goes, oh my God, I met Johnny. He's such a good person. You're like, no, dude, he is a narcissist. Well, then why are you connected to him? Because for whatever reason, the pleasure is still worth the pain. And so many people continue to give people second, third, and fourth chances so that they can justify being a good person. Being a good person is an asset, provided you have very clear boundaries. If you do not have clear boundaries, then you are bordering or you are in codependent relationships and codependent situations where you will end up getting the life sucked out of you by spiritual and emotional vampires. That's why it's so important that you become very clear at reading people. One of the main emotions that keeps people from being skilled at reading people, understanding people, is guilt. Once again, we give people too much of the benefit of the doubt. Now, this doesn't mean you're skeptical of people. It means you're skilled at reading them. I'm very, very skilled at reading people on a daily basis. As an influencer myself, in my inbox in Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, I receive multiple offers for people to create coaching leads for me. Well, what they want to do is sell me a sales funnel. And I'm not interested in those situations, and I can tell very quickly how that whole situation gets groomed. Just yesterday, I had an experience with a woman on Facebook who looked like she had a real profile. And you've seen the fake profiles, you've had them before. This woman looked like she had a real profile. I had multiple friends with her. And however, she sent me one of those messages, "How's your day going?" Well, who asks you in Facebook Messenger? You don't even know them. I'll tell you who. It's usually a group of men posing as women or whatever it is, but it's usually scammers and spammers. I mean, you can tell their language if you've been around them, you've been to social media for the last 15 years. They're very easy to detect and determine the difference between a fake profile, a real profile. But I must admit, this person's profile was very good, but the communication in Messenger let me know real quickly that this was a unfriend and block situation immediately. So that's how you become skilled at reading people. The skill of reading people is trust. You trust your feelings. You trust your intuition. That means that the neocortex of your brain, where your vagus nerve that goes down your back, comes up under your hip and connects to the bottom of your abdomen stomach, which is where your second brain is, and your intuition, intuit, and then your extrasensory perception, your sixth sense, which is connected to your pineal gland, and then your emotional search engine in here. The amygdala is not wired to the reptilian brain that sees lions and tigers, or the other component of the neocortex of the brain that wants to love up on everyone. Well, you have to be able to have discernment, which comes from right here. So right here's your hippocampus. The amygdala is in here. And then right in the frontal is the prefrontal cortex of the brain, is where you decide and commit. But a combination of brain fog and trauma that you hold on to keeps you from being able to read people. This can become a skill that's very valuable, and you absolutely deserve to master these skills. If you have considered hiring me to be your coach, or would like to find out more about my one-on-one coaching services and how I can assist you to effectively understand people, in 1999, I produced an 8-CD audio program called Personalities for Success, The Animal Factor. I broke the 4 main personalities into 4 different animals, and in an 8-CD audio program, broke that down. I've been teaching that content for the last 26 years. If you would like to speak to me directly, send me a Facebook message. You can also go to my Facebook page or my webpage, goldenmastermind.com. You can fill out a 20-minute survey. I'll get back to you relatively quickly. Thank you for being here on Facebook Live this afternoon on 2 Tuesday. I'll be back here tonight at 9 p.m. Pacific. You have a great afternoon.